Man, this show is so good. Anyways, this is everything you need to know before The Last Kingdom Season 5. Alright, let's go! The story takes place in a time where the Danish and Saxons hate each other's guts. For the Danish, it's because they want silver, land, and protection. And for the Saxons, it's basically because the Danish are always invading. And because the Danish believe in the Norse gods and the Christians only believe in the one god. This brings us to the main story, where we have Uthred of Bebbanburg, a kid who's next in line for his dad's castle. But after the Danish or Danes attacked, he was taken in as a slave by the Danes. And his uncle Uthred, who wants nothing more than to see Uthred fall, takes the castle as his own and intends to keep it that way. That being said, Uthred grows up as one of the Danes, since after becoming a slave he was adopted by one of the Danes by the name of Earl Ragnar, who had a son by the name of Ragnar, who then becomes Uthred's brother, and his sister Thura as well. Uthred then falls in love with another slave girl by the name of Brida. She's very smart, unlike season 1 Uthred. I say this because Uthred's new family gets killed, all but Ragnar and Thura, which leads Uthred and Brida to go to the kingdom of Wessex, where 3 main things happen. First is that he reunites with his old father figure, Father Bjarke. The second is that he meets his new best friend by the name of Leofric, who works directly under the king. And that brings me to the third, which is that he meets the king, King Alfred, who technically wasn't supposed to be king. Instead, it was supposed to be this guy by the name of Ethelwald, but he's human garbage and is definitely not fit to lead anybody. And instead of killing him like they really should, they keep him alive and well treated, against my obviously better judgment. Anyways, King Alfred starts to use Uthred in order to beat the Danes. And since Brida doesn't like this, Brida leaves and joins with Ragnar, and the 3 agree to meet up again when it's time to save Thura, who was sadly taken in as a slave. Anyways, King Alfred, realizing that Uthred is the best warrior in the kingdom, gets Uthred married off to a girl by the name of Mildred, and the two have a son together. But that kid quickly dies after Uthred meets and falls in love with Isolde. Mildred then gets jealous, rightfully so, and ends the marriage. She then becomes a nun, never to be seen again, and Isolde sadly dies in the last battle of the season, where both King Alfred and Uthred help stop the Danes, but at the loss of Uthred's new best friend, Leofric. In season 2, Uthred meets his new best man, by the name of Finan. Of course, they meet while they were both slaves, but that's not important. What is important is that Ragnar and Uthred finally help rescue Thura, and she falls in love with Father Bjarke, and they get married. And speaking of marriage, Uthred gets married to Lady Gisla, who's a Danish woman. We then have Alfred's daughter by the name of Ethelfled, married to the Lord of Mercia by the name of Ethelred, all because Alfred has a dream of uniting all the kingdoms into one united kingdom, called England.
I understood that reference.
But it turns out that Ethelred is a piece of shit and treats Ethelfled like complete garbage. So much so that when Ethelfled gets captured by the Danish, she falls in love with a Danish warrior by the name of Eric and becomes pregnant by him. But sadly, Eric was quickly killed, and so was Siegfried, who is Eric's brother. But he died in the final battle of the season, where both Wessex and Mercia joined forces against the Danes. And there we found out that Ethelred really wants Ethelfled dead, and wants to become king much like Alfred, which brings us to season 3, where Lady Gisla dies after giving Uthred 3 children, and Uthred giving more than enough of his life to King Alfred, with barely anything to show for it, except for the men that follow him, which are mainly his own doing. First you have Finan, which is his right-hand man. Second we have Sihtric, who is basically his left-hand man. And finally we have Osfert. And with that out the way, here's the plot of season 3. Remember when I said Ethelwald was supposed to be next in line to become king, and they should kill him because he's not king? Well, he's the villain of season 3. Here's how he becomes the villain. He goes and negotiates with 2 Danish leaders by the name of Heston and Canute. I say 2 because after the 3rd leader agreed to help him, that 3rd leader being Ragnar, Uthred's brother, who is also married to Brida, Ethelwald kills him in his sleep. Doing so, Canute becomes the leader of those group of Danes. At the same time, King Alfred is on his deathbed, and his son, Prince Edward, is next in line. So he gets married off to Lady Aelfled. Before getting married off, Edward has a son by the name of Ethelstan, with a woman that his parents did not approve of, so they got rid of her. Anyways, after a while, Uthred and Brida find out that Ethelwald is the one that killed Ragnar, so they get their revenge in another massive battle against the Danes, where both Canute and Heston flee. After that, King Alfred speaks to Uthred one-on-one, and man, this conversation was so necessary, because King Alfred apologizes to Uthred, and also admits that he wouldn't be where he is if it wasn't for Uthred's help.
Finally!
He also makes a final request to Uthred, asking him to watch over Edward and help him become a great king. He then dies with his wife, Lady Ilswith, by his side. And sadly, that's not the only death. Thura, who's Father Bjarke's wife and Uthred's sister, is forced to take her own life after being trapped in a fire. This is because she's always getting bullied for being a Dane, so may she rest in peace. And the season ends with Uthred and Lady Ethelfled developing a relationship. And that finally brings us to season 4. In season 4, Uthred finally tries to take over his home kingdom of Bebbanburg, which is controlled by his uncle Eofric. Before heading there to take over, he recruits his son, Uthred, who hates his dad at first but slowly grows to love him, with the help of Father Bjorka, who also goes with them, but he's sadly killed while protecting Uthred's son. May he rest in peace. And with Father Bjorka's death, they fail to take back Bebbanburg and head back home. Soon after Uthred and his men return, Wessex, Mercia, and the Welsh go to battle against Canute. During this battle, three major things happen. The first is that Canute was killed by Brida, who was pregnant with his child, because she found out that he was the one who made Ethelwald killed Ragnar. Second thing is that Uthred refuses to send Brida to Valhalla, which basically means he refuses to kill her. So instead, she's taken in by the Welsh as a slave. And if you've never seen a villain backstory, this is one right here. And part of the reason why I think more than soap, Uthred needs ClickUp, because he's constantly forgetting what needs to be done. ClickUp being a tool that can help you set reminders, manage a team, or make to-do lists, so you don't forget that you need to save your one childhood friend from slavery. And with just $5, you can get unlimited storage and a ton of other perks. Link is down below. The third thing is that the Lord of Mercia by the name of Ethelred is fatally wounded in battle, and after he was killed on his deathbed by his general Eardwulf, Uthred becomes the new Lord of Mercia.
That's my boy right there.
For about 2 seconds because he gives it up to Lady Ethelfled. Winchester, which is a town in the Kingdom of Wessex, is taken over by a dame by the name of Sigtrygr, who also happens to have Brida fighting alongside him. And Brida wants nothing but the death of all Saxons. If she gets nothing else, she really wants to kill Uthred. Anyway, Sigtrygr also captures Uthred's daughter by the name of Steora, and she kinda likes him too. That being said, with the help of Uthred, King Edward was able to negotiate with Sigtrygr, and that negotiation came down to Edward agreeing to give up some land, as well as Uthred giving up his daughter, and since she was willing to go, he let her go. Also, some important things to know this season are that Edith and Finan might get together, Lady Aelswith is on her deathbed because she was poisoned by Aelflaed's father. Finally, Uthred and Lady Ethelfled can no longer be together. This is because she swore an oath when she became Queen of Mercia, basically saying that she won't get married as long as she's Queen of Mercia. And yeah, I hope I answered all your questions, but if you have any more, be sure to leave a comment. That's it. Thank you for making it to the end of the video. If you liked that video and want to see more like it, leave a like and subscribe. Adios!